Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about 2 episodes of The Flash. That is episode 713, titled Masquerade, which premiered June 15th, and episode 714, titled Rayo de Luz, which premiered June 22nd, 2021, both on the CW, and I saw them both on Netflix. So, huge spoiler, if you haven't seen the 2 episodes already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. My other video reminders are up on the screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Because these aren't two parts of the same storyline, I'll deal with each section for both episodes happening at the same time. I've done it for a few combo videos before. Usually I don't if it's like a part 1 and part 2 kind of a thing, which is not the case this video. So let's get started. Hopefully I could do it in 20 minutes. So huge timeline wise, well, for 713, it was actually stated in the episode by Barry that it's been 2 weeks since the whole force storm thing happened, specifically when Cecile got struck by that purple lightning, which they all believed was the Sage lightning. I can't remember if it happened in 710 or 711, but it's meant to be 2 weeks, so yeah, so there's that. But for 714 timeline, they don't say specifically, but I'm assuming it's shortly after the events of 713. Huge episode reminder though, 713 is a lot more Cecile focused in regards to the villain of the episode and her having to overcome a few things, big things, and we get to learn a lot about her. And then, well, 714 is kind of the same thing, but for Allegra. So she's a lot more the focus due to the villain and what we learn about her and etc. So with that said, what are the 2 villains of the episode? So for 713, we get the Psycho-Pirate, which is the Golden Mask meta, originally introduced at the very end of the Elseworlds crossover. Specifically, the mask feeds off of people's brainwaves. So specifically, they've targeted themselves onto Cecile, and their goal is to not only get the mask into her possession while it's possessing her, but to also make her more of a permanent host. So that's the goal of the Psycho-Pirate. Now for 714, the villain ends up being Ultraviolet, aka Esperanza, aka Allegra's cousin, who is the Black Hole Assassin, though her target is anyone who is pretty much associated with her becoming a meta assassin, specifically Dr. Olsen in Central City. So she killed someone in Metropolis, she killed someone in Opal City, and now her final target is in Central City. And he's the one that pretty much ripped out her vocal cords and made her into the weapon that she is. So she's kind of taking revenge for herself, and Allegra wants to help her cousin out. So with both those villains stated, what is the actual breakdown for these 2 episodes? So for 713, I picked up on 2 specific storylines, but again, these are 2 very intermingled storylines. The first one being Golden Mask takes charge, and the second one is Chester's new role. Now, Chester's new role is kind of like the underlining issue throughout the whole focus of the first storyline, because with the first storyline, we had the Golden Mask taking over Cecile's body, like I said, for the last 2 weeks, while Cecile is trapped in the mindscape. Eventually, Barry gets trapped there with them, so they have to try to get out before the Golden Mask takes full control over Cecile. Meanwhile, Team Flash, which is Iris, Chester, and Caitlin, are tricked by the presence of the Golden Mask possessing Cecile to steal the Golden Mask itself from the museum. And not realizing this, they call in Sue Dearborn to help them out with this heist, only to realize too late that Cecile is not actually Cecile. Now, the reason why this is intermingled with Chester's new role is because this is shortly after Cisco has left the team, so Chester's trying to find his new footing of pretty much being in Cisco's old job. So new office, he has his own doubts about if he can do the job or not. So that's kind of why it's intermingled with what happens with the Golden Mask centric kind of a storyline. Now with 714, not same thing. There's 2 different storylines that aren't connected with each other. So the first storyline is Fight for Family. The second storyline is Painful Past. So the first storyline for Fight for Family is strictly with Allegra, wanting to save her cousin Esperanza, aka Ultraviolet. This involves Caitlin, Chester, and Sue helping her out when it comes to this, while the second storyline deals with Joe wanting to find answers about Kramer's past, specifically some redacted information about Fort Dakota, and he gets some legal advice from Cecile as well as moral support as well. And this is where he finds out in his research, as well as from Kramer herself, about Adam Craik, who is the person that Kramer has been trying to find for the last 6 years, and who had betrayed her and her unit, and who she once thought of as a brother due to shared trauma in the past and upbringing and all the experiences they had to go to without having a community to support them. So we got two very distinctly different storylines in this episode. The last scenes for both episodes, though, for 713, the last episode kind of shows Joe revealing to Cecile that Christian Kramer was the sole survivor to an ambush mission connected to Fort Dakota, and he thinks that she's working for the enemy. But he finds out in 714, like I just mentioned, that Kramer wasn't behind it, but she was betrayed by someone who was the one who led her team into an ambush. So I guess that's the only thing that would have made it like tying into. But the last scene of 714 was Frost hunting down and finding Mark Blaine out on the streets of Central City again, and learning that he cut a deal with the DA for his freedom. So now his record is expunged, and he's pretty much like Frost now, from what I understood, which I don't see how. But he keeps also calling her Snowflake. He alluded to the fact that he gave her his cell phone number instead of her tracking him down in the streets. So he didn't actually break out of Iron Heights like she originally thought, because she was trying to track him down to take him back. So that's a little where we ended off there in that episode. So tidbits, let's go into that. There's actually a lot that was revealed in both episodes, so let's get right into it. For 713 tidbits, we have Christian Kramer being named the new CCPD captain, pretty much Joe's replacement. We have Jenna being mentioned staying with Cecile's aunt during this whole craziness. We find out that Sue went to a dance academy. We find out that Ralph is still away on business, so that is why Sue plans to stay in town for a little while. Claims she missed Central City, only we found out in the next episode she stayed behind because she heard chatter about an ex-Black Hole assassin hitting its mark in Central City. So that's a little tie in there. Apparently Cecile hates rock climbing, but this was said when the psycho pirate Golden Mask was possessing her, so I'm not sure if it was actually Cecile hating rock climbing or if it was the psychic presence that was claiming that. So that's a little something to think about. We also find out about Cecile's past, where at the start of her career, I think when she was an intern lawyer, she lost her mom and blamed herself for her death because she was a workaholic and she wasn't there for her mom in her final moments. From all that grief and guilt came the anxiety and depression, which led to Cecile having a mental breakdown, which led to her being institutionalized in Texas during her recovery. And that is the location of her mindscape when the psychopirate takes control of her body and sends her there. So we have Barry learning about this before she eventually tells Joe about it. We also find Chester pretty much catching Barry and Iris in the mood for each other in the Star archives, and he pretty much tells them, instead of doing it at work, just take a day off or go on vacation, and kind of alluding like, don't do it in my archives kind of a thing. So that was something there. And also we got no Allegra in this episode. Now that's different for 714. 714 though, Iris is actually absent. This is the first episode she is not present in since the very beginning of it. I mean, technically they showed a flashback of her being caught in the Star archives by Chester in the previous episode, but it's not new footage, so I'm not counting that as her actually being present in the episode. And also, Barry's only shown in 2 scenes in this episode to explain his plans to take Iris away on a mini vacation to reconnect, and then returning at the very end to kind of show that, oh, they're back from vacation, and then him noticing, well, the lab's looking very different from when he left earlier in the day. Also, only Chester seems to know about Barry and Iris's plans to try for a baby. They kind of skipped over that part of their vacation plans when trying to tell Frost and Allegra about their plans to go on a little daycation, I think, from it. So there's that. We do find out that Chester, as well as the bartender at Jitters, Marcos, used to play D&D together before he had to get kicked out of the campaign. Marcos, that is. At the beginning of the episode, though, we show also Allegra not wanting to be playing, but she's very open to playing at the very end of the episode. Not sure if that's more of like kind of wanting to spend time with Chester to pay him back for having her back, or maybe she actually has some feelings for him. We don't know quite yet. And then also we find out from Sue that she couldn't really save her parents because they were too corrupted by Carver and Black Hole and the lavish lifestyle that Black Hole gave them. But after the events with Allegra, Sue was rethinking about speaking to her parents again and trying to help them when they don't really want to. Kind of like the same idea of what Allegra was trying to do for Esperanza. So there's that. But let's move on to the most shocking moment of the episode. For 713, I have to say I was pretty stunned to know that Jo didn't know about Cecile's past. I was kind of surprised that she admitted all the stuff that she did to Barry first before she told Jo about it. I thought since they were in a relationship together, he would have known some semblance of it. So I was kind of surprised that he wasn't in the know. But I get how like some people just aren't ready to talk about that, which I get for sure. It's just I wasn't expecting it. The most shocking though for 714, I would say, is that Barry's absence in the episode was by choice and not because of him being put in a comatose or a stasis situation due to the meta that they're facing. Because usually he's put in a coma or he's knocked out or his powers are kind of like on the fritz or something, and then that's why he's a little bit absent in the game. But Barry's absence in this episode would have made me think that he was the one that was directing the episode, as opposed to Danielle Panabaker, aka Caitlin, and Frost, who was directing the episode. So that was just one unexpected shock there for me. I guess also with it, I was kind of surprised that Iris wasn't even in the episode. Like, I wasn't expecting that either. But yeah, let's move on to favorite moments, actually. For 713, I'll be very quick. Favorite was probably seeing Chester's new lab and seeing Caitlin's reaction to the very huge difference because he painted it blue and red. I don't recall if it was blue before, but it definitely wasn't red before when Cisco had it. So it was just very nice to see him and Caitlin have that scene in his lab with the little dance party going on and stuff. So that was pretty cool and just feeding off of his excitement. And then another favorite I did have was just the between Barry and Cecile, how he was there for her and how she was able to confide in him and how they were able to rely on each other while they're in the Mindscape, so I do appreciate that. Now, when it comes to 714, a favorite I did have was Allegra's power-up when she was going off against Ultraviolet, because we found out that they are yin and yang to each other, so while Ultraviolet is fueled by hate, Allegra's is more fueled by love and family. So, when she was definitely thinking about family and wanting to save Esperanza, that's when she got more of a power boost, and she seemed more like electrified in that power stance of hers. So we'll see how that gets to expand a little bit more. And then another favorite I did have was just Caitlin being able to keep Team Flash together and like how to be like the de facto leader and like keeping things calm. And I also wasn't expecting it because again I knew that Danielle was directing in this episode, so I was surprised I got a lot more Caitlin than I would have thought I was going to get. So that was a great thing there. Peeves, though, let's get into that. For 713, a peeve that I had was just that whole laser beam dance that Sue did to try to get across the laser beams. I get that the aerobatics was meant for like more of a showy, dramatic, but it didn't really make sense to me why her hair wasn't tied up when she was doing all these flips and dives and turns, because like her hair was flying all over the place, and there was a few times where I was like, the laser must have caught those. Like it was just like, I feel like if I were to put a character in a situation that like that, I'd want their hair tied up. I want it to be as pinned down to them as possible to not risk a hair out of place when trying to be in those confined types of situations. So it was a peeve that, because she was so loose in her movements and the hair was just not tied up, it took me out of the element of like how serious the moment was. So that was a peeve there. Another peeve I had was also just the fact that Joe wasn't really a part of Cecile's storyline. It's only really, they only really had 2 scenes together, and the first one was when he was like with the psycho pirate version of Cecile, and then together in the last scene of the episode. So I thought with it being more Cecile focused that Joe would be there. So I was kind of disappointed that he wasn't. I get that he was doing a lot more important discoveries off screen. It's just, yeah. I just thought he would be there for, And then moving to 714, the peeve I had for that was just the constant reappearance of Sue from out of nowhere. She would just pop in, save the day, and it just got really excessive for me. It's like, it really needs to stop kind of a situation. So that was a peeve there when it kept on happening so many times. And then another peeve was that Frost wasn't there for Allegra. I mean, I thought she would be just because I thought they were friends. But I understand why there would be less of her because of the fact that Daniela was directing as well. So she might not have, they might want to reduce the chance of her not only directing herself, but directing twice of her, if that makes sense. So that makes sense. And then I guess it just makes sense that Frost's day off was just looking for Chilblain, so I get that. But it's just like, on a friendship level, I thought Frost would have been there for Allegra like she was when she was being convicted of murder. So there's that. Random questions though, very quickly. I really only had them from 713. The first one was, do you think Cisco knew about Barry and Iris's habit of using the Star Archives, and that's why he hasn't done some inventory in 6 years? Or was that a more recent development? Because it had me thinking when Chester was saying to himself, Cisco did not tell me about this. Like, he didn't warn me about this. It had me wondering, well, did Cisco know? Was this a new development? Like, what's going on? It would have been funny if Cisco did know and he didn't tell him. And then it's just like, oh, leave that room to them kind of a thing. So that was just a random thought. And another question was, how did Cecile know to talk to Joe about Fort Dakota in the last scene if it was brought up in their first scene while she was being possessed by the psycho pirate spirit thing? Because I thought while she was being possessed, Cecile was locked in the mindscape, so she wouldn't have known what was happening in the real world. So I'm kind of confused why she would know to bring up Fort Dakota, unless off screen they talked about it while they were talking about what was happening with her. So that's the only reason why I'm just wondering, like, if they cleared that up somehow or not, or I missed it. But there's that. But let's move on to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 715, it looks like Godspeed has arrived, and it looks like he brought an army with him. And I saw a bit of Frost being stuck with Mark Blaine, as if they're like, either they're trapped and they have no choice but to team up in order to get out, or they decide to team up against Godspeed. So that's going to be interesting. But the synopsis for the episode reads that when an army of Godspeeds attacks Central City, Barry and Iris must put their family plans on hold and focus on the latest threat to their home. Meanwhile, Chilblain is released from prison and claims to be reformed, but Frost has her doubts. Rightfully so. I don't trust him. He's a flirty little thing there. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm also interested to know why they included it in this synopsis when they revealed it as the last scene in 714. So we'll have to wait and see about that. So that's going to be pretty much it, though. I will say, though, that they did release the Season 8 premiere date, and it's meant to be a little later than all the rest of the CW shows. So The Flash will return November 16th, 2021 at 8 p.m. So that's going to be Tuesday still. And I think the plan was that they're going to run 5 weeks straight with no hiatus, as opposed to, I think, the rest of them starting in October would have a bit of a hiatus. I'm not sure. But everything else is supposed to be starting in October. So Flash is starting a little bit later. But I'm just going to leave it about there, guys. And right now I've just hit the 20-minute mark, so that is good for me. But what did you guys think of these 2 episodes? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts, theories, and opinions about what you think will happen next. I think there's only 4 episodes left. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Especially some special guest stars are supposed to be coming. Also, the 150th episode is supposed to be coming up as well too. But let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear all that. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog, promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all the good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out as well. I am a little behind. It is on the list of things I need to do. But as for right now, everything is there for easy access. And WordPress account, link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress as well. So guys, I'm going to leave it about there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to this all the way through. I might double up the next 2 episodes. I haven't decided just yet though, but keep on the lookout. Ring that notification bell if you want to be up to date in that way. But until next time, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week, wherever you are. Bye for now.